All right, I'm 26 years old. I have been working full time now for like a month. Previously, I was unemployed for 2 years, living with my parents. I moved out, living with my aunt and uncle. Not much of an upgrade there, but hey, or slightly more independent. Uh, Also, previously, before I was unemployed, I worked a corporate job for 14 months and then I went through college. So, I found out I had ADHD or I have ADHD after I quit my corporate job like 2 years ago. And so I kind of thought I was never ever going to be able to handle a job again. And it was quite extreme. If you have ADHD, you know. So, I'm going to share with y'all today how I've been keeping it together because often with ADHD, your mind is scattered. It's left and right, up, down, forward, and backwards. And I'm going to try to share with y'all how to keep a focused mind. And I'm going to try to share a different perspective because most people will tell you the productivity hacks, the go and, study the Pomodoro technique, take a cold shower, boost your adrenaline, drink caffeine after 90 minutes, whatever. Like, it's oversaturated. Half of it kind of works. The other half is kind of like selling a product or service. And so I'm going to take a more spiritual route. And if that turns you off, feel free to click off and save your time. But if that's something you're interested in, let's begin. So, the first thing to understand is that you are not your thoughts. And why is this important is because if you have ADHD, you have a lot of thoughts. If you have ADHD, you could probably yap for nonstop, i.e., what I'm doing right now. And it's it's an interesting thing because there are so many thoughts and ideas, and a lot of them are just kind of out there, I'll just say. Like, there's just a lot, basically. And some are ideas you want to have and some you just don't want. And if you have ADHD, like, you will oftentimes have thoughts you just don't want in your head. It's just a habit, basically. And at a kind of a psychological level, this is just thought patterns repeating themselves. And when you are put in different environments and a similar environments, you will have similar thoughts. So let's say, like, you have a fear of dogs, and the fear of dogs happened because you got bit by a dog when you were a kid, and now every time you see a dog you feel scared and you have thoughts that come up like, oh, like, I don't want to be near this dog, or I got to avoid this dog, whatever. That's a very basic level, and that's important because when that becomes a pattern or a loop, then it becomes automatic. And so whenever something's automatic and it's so ingrained in you, it seems like you can't stop it, and you're basically living your life on autopilot. And a lot of these thought patterns that happen in our heads, we will basically be avoiding something or desiring something. So, like, another example, today I was at work and I was feeling tired and sleepy and I had work I needed to do, and I was like, you know what, I want to just watch YouTube because it'll make me feel better and I can avoid my work. But, like, noticing that pattern, because some days I would do that, and I would start to notice that and be like, okay, like, I can't be doing this, I gotta work, bro. But, like, just noticing it is the first step. So being aware of your thoughts is the first step. And to not identify with them will help you kind of deal with your emotions as well. Because if you're identifying with an emotion, then it's hard to separate yourself and to, like, be detached from it. Because if you're attached to your emotion, you aren't able to, like, go about your life. Let's say you're going through a breakup, for example, and you think, like, this person is the only person for me. I can't go on without them. Um, like, my life would be so much better when I'm with them. And you believe these thoughts, and instead of like separating yourself and being the one that's aware of these thoughts, uh, you will suffer because you will start to believe what you're saying, and you will believe that you can't live without them and you need them, or you need like this outside source to quell your inner world, basically. And so once you notice that these thoughts are not you or your or they're just perceptions of who you are, then you're able to detach and just view them. And let me like like ground this conversation a little, because this is getting pretty like out there right now, and even I'm getting a little lost in how to think about this more practically. So I guess ways to practice this awareness is to literally just like slow down. ADHD is all about being fast and quick, and sure, in scenarios like that's where we thrive. Like in sports, you might thrive with ADHD because you can react quickly and stuff. In video games, you might thrive with it. In conversations, you might thrive with it. But whenever you're looking for calm, clarity, tranquility, and like peace in your work and peace in your daily life, then what you need to understand is actually slow is smooth, and smooth is, you know, effortless. And so slowing down is huge. So basically, ways to actually slow down, and this is how you do it. You breathe. Like you literally slow down and breathe. You give yourself some space. Take a deep breath in and a deep breath out, and you just like allow yourself to feel whatever you're feeling. This sounds like woo woo, but trust, because if you feel a burst of tiredness and you're confused why, and you're trying to escape that feeling, you're like, I need to get coffee, I need to like get up and run around, I need to like go on my phone and check my phone a bunch of times, and that's probably a subconscious habit that you might have. Is if you're checking your phone all the time, you might be avoiding some feelings. And instead of sitting with that feeling of tiredness and just facing it as it is, you think it's bad and you try to get rid of it. And this is what is happening internally. So you have energy that wells up, and let's say it's like a feeling of tiredness, and you don't want to experience that feeling. And so what you do is like push it down. And what happens is it basically goes in a circle. You push it down, when it comes back up, you push it back down. It's uncomfortable, you don't want to feel it, it comes back up. It's in what the most interesting thing is a circle, something that spins like this is an object that moves that can also be completely stationary. So like if you think of a wheel on a car, the wheel itself is moving, but it's also completely stationary on the axle of the car. And so there's a problem with that, is because our energy is like a river flowing. I forget the exact verse, but in the Bible, like John chapter 7, if you read it, it talks about like love being a flowing river of water, basically. But like, please actually read the verse, and I'm paraphrasing heavily, but it should flow like water, like easily. And so what we as people are doing, we're trapping ourselves by by blocking the water, and instead of uh, releasing your resistance and letting go and surrendering and actually experiencing the love, we push it down. And ultimately, like if we want to live in this life in reality and experience everything as it is, then we must accept the things that we feel uncomfortable with. Uh, if we learn to accept it, we open up our own inner world. Because if you think about it, another fun fact I learned today, I was listening to this book called The Untethered Soul as I was fighting to stay awake in my work. I just didn't sleep much last night. And so I was constantly dealing with that I'm tired feeling today. But like I was listening to this book, and in it they talked about your conscious mind and your subconscious mind, basically your psyche, and what makes up your mental world. And in like a Freudian standpoint, your subconscious mind is just the parts of yourself that you suppress. So for example, if you grew up and you're like, I must be a good boy or a good girl, and you're like, I could never be bad. I don't like that part, those like people that are bad or myself when I'm bad. So you like put yourself into place, and whenever you act bad, like you steal a piece of candy or whatever. I'm using like childlike examples because it just is simpler. Like you steal a piece of candy and you're like, oh, that's so bad. I can't be like this. And so you ignore all the parts of you that desire that or that are like that. And what ends up happening is in real life, if you see somebody that steals a piece of candy, you also will choose to not like them, or you don't want to be like them, because really you don't want that to be like you and yourself. And so, but what I learned that was interesting is, according to this book, our subconscious mind is like the unknown, like we're not aware of it. But the reason, like Freudian science, they separate the conscious and subconscious mind. But in this book, they're like, it's the same. We have one mind. And what it is it's as if there's a room of people, and half of the people you're like, oh yeah, I like those people. And that's like our conscious mind. And the other half of the room, you're like, oh, I don't like those people over there. And that's our subconscious mind. And what ends up happening is we just choose not to look at the people we don't like in that example. And so it's like you're not living, like true to yourself. You're just ignoring everything that you're like living in a delusion in a way. Um, and so this relates to ADHD and like working properly at a job, because when you're aware of your own patterns and how you think, you can catch yourself when you're compulsive. So like whenever you want to pick up your phone and scroll, or you want to, get distracted and you're like, oh, I got to do this task, no, I got to do that task, or you're having trouble prioritizing what to do, or just breaking down a task into chunks, like a vague task. Being aware of just that feeling. So imagine like your boss tells you, yo, go do this, go make a report for your invoice or something. That's like what I do a lot. And so it's like, it's this vague task, let's say, and you don't even know where to start. And so the resistance lies in that unknown feeling of, where do I start? How do I do this? And because that feeling, if it is not like embraced, it becomes so big and so uncomfortable that you want to just avoid it, and therefore you procrastinate. Because that feeling is so overwhelming, you just don't want to mess with it. And what happens often is you can procrastinate until something is like due and it demands a deadline. And then suddenly that feeling, like it doesn't matter how uncomfortable that feeling is, because there's stakes at hand. But going off of that energy of, you know, living your life off of that anxiety and worry feeling is not peaceful. And so basically the solution is to be aware of your uncomfortable feelings, and breathe and give them space and just feel it. Like literally just experience life, bro. Sit and experience it, because that's the full picture of life. You can't ignore it. You can't shove it down into your subconscious mind. And then you're also gonna live you're gonna live every day just kind of confused and unknown, because you'll be like, why I'm acting just like the same way I always do, but you don't understand why. And it's because you have these subconscious patterns. And so to break the patterns, to become something new and to grow as a person, in a way you face your fears. But facing your fears is sitting in that discomfort and being okay with it. So if you're able to learn how to be in uncomfortable situations and just be okay with that, then that's the secret sauce. And so I really hope y'all can find that for yourselves. And I do understand having ADHD can be very frustrating. The emotions and the thoughts just constantly filling your head. Feels like it's a never ending battle, but just understand that there is a way to attain peace. I'm very far from it, but I'm learning a lot, and I'm hoping like this can help some of y'all out. So anyways, y'all, if this helped, please let me know. Or if you like this type of content, please let me know, so I can make more videos focused on this type of subject. I really like spirituality, but if ADHD specifically helps, if there's a group that needs that help, let me know. I can make way more videos. But anyways, peace. See you guys. Bye.